Today we are practicing drawing box and whisker plots. To do this, we first need to find the 5-number summary. First, order the numbers from least to greatest. When the numbers are in order, underline the smallest number and the largest number. The smallest number is called the minimum, in this case 34. The largest number is called the maximum, in this case 58. Now we need to find the middle number. Count inwards from the outside. If we have an even number of numbers, there won't be a middle number, so we must draw a line between the two middle numbers. Both numbers are the same as each other, so our median or middle number is 50. Now we need to look for the middle number of the bottom half. This is called the lower quartile or quartile 1. Once again, we have an even number of numbers, so draw a line between 46 and 46. So quartile 1 is 46. Now look at the upper half. Find the middle of this group. In this case, the two numbers are different. We draw a line between 51 and 55. To find the middle between these two, add them together and divide by 2. This gives us 53. We now have what is called the 5-number summary, which we will use to create the box and whisker plot. Before we draw the box and whisker, we will find two measures of spread. The range is the difference between the maximum and the minimum, 58 minus 34, or 24. The interquartile range is the difference between the quartiles, 53 minus 46, or 7. The mode is simply the number that shows up the most often. In this case, there are two modes, 46 and 50. Before you can draw a box and whisker plot, you must draw a number line and use a ruler to divide it into equal segments. Then choose an interval that will allow you to include all of the data points. In this case, I have chosen an interval of 5. Thus, I have space on my number line to include all of my data points. Draw a dot above the minimum, 34. Label the point. Draw a dot above the maximum, 58. Label that point. Use the ruler to connect the two dots with a faint line. At the median, 50, draw a long vertical line. Label this line 50. At the lower quartile, 46, draw a short vertical line. Label it. At the upper quartile, 53, another short vertical line. Label this one too. Connect the two quartiles to form the box. The lines outside the box are the whiskers. The next step is to determine if there are any outliers in the data. To do this, we use the outlier formulas to find the brackets. The formula for the lower bracket is quartile 1, or 46, minus 1.5 times interquartile range, which is 7. 46 minus 1.5 times 7, which is 10.5. This gives us 35.5. To use the lower bracket, ask yourself if there is a number less than 35.5 in the data. There is. 34 is less than 35.5. 34 is an outlier. To determine the upper bracket, use quartile 3, 53, plus 1.5 times 7. This gives us 53 plus 10.5, or 63.5. To use the upper bracket, ask yourself if there is a number bigger than 63.5 in the data. No, there is not. The only outlier, then, is the lower outlier, 34. To indicate an outlier on the box and whisker plot, change the whisker from the outlier to the next number in the data list to a dotted line. In this case, the next number is 46, so the whole whisker becomes a dotted line. This is not always the case. The last step is to determine if the data is skewed. If the mean is less than the median, the data is skewed left, or negatively skewed. Generally, the whisker will be longer on the left. If the mean is greater than the median, the data is skewed right or positively skewed. Generally, the whisker will be longer on the right. To find out, calculate the mean. Add all of the numbers together and divide by the number of numbers. In this case, the mean is 48.75. 48.75 is less than 50. The mean is less than the median. This means the data is skewed to the left. This is also indicated by the fact that the whisker is longer on the left. Let's look at example 2. Once again, start by underlining the minimum and the maximum, in this case 40 and 56. Next, find the median. Once again, there is no middle number, so draw a line between 43 and 45. To find the median, add the two numbers together and divide by 2. The median is 44. There are 5 numbers in the lower half, so there is a middle number. Circle that number. The lower quartile is 41. There are also 5 numbers in the upper half. Circle the middle number. The upper quartile is 45. Pause the video here and try the next steps yourself. Now that you have tried it, check your work. First, let's find the range. The range is the difference between the maximum and the minimum. 56 minus 40, or 16. The interquartile range is the difference between the quartiles. 45 minus 41, or 4. The mode is the number that repeats the most often, or 45. For the interval, I chose 5 again. You might have chosen something else. This is fine as long as all of your data fits. To draw the box and whisker plot, mark the minimum and label it. Mark the maximum, 56, and label it. Connect the two dots with a light line. Mark the median with a long vertical line at 44 and label it. Mark quartile 1 with a short vertical line at 41 and label it. Mark quartile 3 with a short vertical line at 45 and label it. Connect the short vertical lines to make the box. We now have our box and whisker plot. Now let's check for outliers. Write quartile 1, which is 41, minus 1.5 times the interquartile range, which is 4. This is 41 minus 1.5 times 4, which is 6. 41 minus 6 is 35. Now ask yourself, is there a number less than 35 in the data? No, there is not. So there is no lower outlier in this data. Now for the upper bracket. Quartile 3 is 45 plus 1.5 times 4 is 45 plus 6, or 51. Now, is there a number greater than 51 in the data list? Yes, 56 is an outlier. To indicate that 56 is an outlier on the box and whisker plot, make a dot at the number 1 less on the list, which is 49. Now make a dotted line between 49 and 56. This shows that the number 56 is an outlier. The last step is to check whether the data is skewed. First, calculate the mean. Add all the numbers together and divide by the number of numbers. The mean is 44.7. This means that the mean is greater than the median. 44.7 is greater than 44. This data is skewed to the right. Let's look at example 3. Underline the minimum, 4, and the maximum, 13. Now look for the median. This time there is a middle number. Circle the number. The median is 8. When calculating the quartiles, ignore the circled number. Below the circled number there are 4 numbers. Draw a line between 4 and 5. Quartile 1 is 4.5. Above the circled number there are 4 numbers. Draw a line between 11 and 13. Quartile 3 is 12. We now have the 5-number summary. Pause the video and try the rest of this example yourself. Now that you have tried it, check your work. The range is 13 minus 4, or 9. The interquartile range is 12 minus 4.5, or 7.5. The modes are 4 and 13. I chose an interval of 1 for the number line since all the numbers fit easily. Draw a dot at 4 and label it. Draw a dot at 13 and label it. Connect the two dots using a ruler. Draw a long vertical line at the median, 8, and label it. Draw a short vertical line at quartile 1 and label it, 4.5. Draw a short vertical line at 12 and label it. Connect the two short lines to make the box. Darken the whiskers. We now have a box and whisker plot. Now let's test for outliers. Start with 4.5 minus 1.5 times 7.5. This gives us 4.5 minus 11.25, which equals negative 6.75. Is there any number in our data set that is less than negative 6.75? No, there is not. There is no lower outlier in this data set. Let's look at the upper bracket. 12 plus 1.5 times 7.5 is 12 plus 11.25, or 23.25. Is there any number in our data set that is greater than 23.25? No, there is not. There are no outliers in this data set. Now let's check if the data is skewed. First, calculate the mean. Add all the numbers together and divide by the number of numbers. The mean is 8.33. The mean is greater than the median. This means this data is skewed to the right. Let's look at example 4. Start by underlining the minimum, 54, and the maximum, 77. Look for a middle number. When there is a middle number, circle it. In this case, the middle number is 72. The median is 72 with 5 numbers on either side of it. There is a middle number of the lower half, 66, and of the upper half, 74. Now pause the video and finish the example yourself. Now that you have tried it, check your work. The range is 77 minus 54, or 23. The interquartile range is 74 minus 66, or 8. The modes are 73 and 74. Once again, I chose an interval of 5 to make all the numbers fit on the number line. Mark the minimum with a dot at 54 and label it. Mark the maximum with a dot at 77 and label it. Connect the dots with your ruler. Draw a long vertical line at the median of 72 and label it. Draw a short vertical line at quartile 1 at 66 and label it, and another at 74 and label it. Connect the two short lines to make the box. Darken the whiskers to complete the box and whisker plot. Now let's check for outliers. Let's start with quartile 1, 66, minus 1.5 times 8. This gives us 66 minus 12, or 54. Is there a number in the data set that is less than 54? 54 is not less than itself, so there is no outlier at the lower end of this data set. 54 is not an outlier. Let's look at the upper bracket. 74 plus 1.5 times 8 is 74 plus 12, or 86. Is there any number in the data set that is bigger than 86? No, there is not. There are no outliers in this data set. Finally, let's check if the data is skewed. Do this by finding the mean. Add all the numbers together and divide by the number of numbers. The mean is 69.09. 69.09 is less than 72. Thus the mean is less than the median. This means this data is skewed to the left.